next sutta, which is a very important one, the Metta Sutta. This one is very long sutta, very important. We need to study this in some detail. So let us begin with a simple introduction tonight. Now you notice there's a very long introduction, page 38. And the introduction goes on from page 38 to 62. Yeah? The sutta itself is only 2 A4 pages, less than. Actually, it is just 1 A4 page, because here I put it the Pali as well as the translation. I've given you two versions here. Page 63, 64 is the sutta as it is, and then 65 onwards, we got the sutta and the notes, right? So this is the one for the teacher and the students to use 65 onwards. We have lots of footnotes, you notice? And this is what I did long ago when I was a young monk, over 30 years ago. I did this, lots of details. This is from the Sutta Nipata. I was translating Sutta Nipata, which is quite a difficult collection of suttas actually. Some of the language are very ancient. But the Metta Sutta is okay. I think Metta Sutta is quite late. It's found only in the Kudaka Pata and the Sutta Nipata, but it's probably late. Now first of all, look at the name, Karaniya Metta Sutta. There are many Metta Sutta. Some are Metta Sutta and some Metta Sutta. Apparently, they mean the same thing. In the title, sometimes a long sound shortened. Metta become Metta Sutta. So it's like a, what you call, compound. Yeah? And then it has got prefix. Karaniya means that which should be done. If you want to be filled with loving kindness, you want to be loving kind, what should you do, right? Karaniya, Metta Sutta. And notice here you have two numbers, page 38, yeah? Page 38. Right at the top, you have number 1, SN 1.8, right? 1.8, that means chapter 1, sutta number 8. And then the 143 to 152, those are the verses. SN 143 to 152, covering 2 pages, 25, 26. And it's also found in the KHP. KHP is Kudaka Pata. Kudaka Pata is a very short, very thin collection, a few suttas only. It's meant for novices to memorize, chant. You have all the popular suttas there. Metta Sutta, Ratana Sutta, Mangala Sutta. So this is Sutta number 9. Okay, covering only 2 pages, 8 and 9. So let me tell you the story behind this sutta first. Yeah? There's a very famous story told to us by Buddha Ghosha in his commentary to the Metta Sutta. There were about 500 monks, forest monks. They were going to meditate in the Himalayas, in the forested mountains. Apparently, there are a lot of difficulties. According to the story of those days, the tree spirits were not very happy, the forest spirits were not very happy. So, of course, if you don't believe in forest spirits, you can say some of these people living in the forest area are not happy, So the story went that these monks were afflicted with sneezing and coughing, and some thought they saw a headless body, some saw a bodiless head, all kinds of fearful things. I heard some forest monks telling their own stories. They have stayed in some of the local jungles, but they know that it is the local people not too happy with the foreigner, with the outsider intruding into the territory. Especially maybe, let's say, in the Malayan jungle or Malaysian jungle, you have these aborigines who live there. So they start throwing stones at the hut in the night, making scary sounds and so on. So this is when you need to show your loving kindness, to be friendly with them. Anyway, the monks were terrified. They couldn't meditate. So They were supposed to stay there for the rains retreat. So they are stuck. They have to stay there. So they were very concerned. They went to see the Buddha. And they asked the Buddha, what do we do? It's our predicament. We're so afraid. Then the Buddha said, well, you go back there, you recite this Metta Sutta. The recitation actually is to help the monks learn step by step how to practice the Metta Sutta. So if you look at the Metta Sutta, the way it's arranged, you have the 3 trainings there. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Yeah? The main focus is, Sila is moral virtue, Samadhi is meditation, the part is, Panya is wisdom. But the focus is on, of course, meditation, how to cultivate loving kindness in some detail as much as 2 pages will give us. But it is a poetry style, so as you know, poems can be very pregnant. In other words, in a few words, they can give us a lot of ideas. Yeah? So in a sense, the sutta assumes that we know some other teachings. So by listening to the sutta, we put together what we have learned so that we can practice loving kindness effectively. But I'll just read through the sutta first so you have an idea, and then next week we'll go into the details. So tonight, just an overview. Yeah? So, page 63. I will recite in Pali first. You'll find it's a very melodious verse. Page 63. Yeah? You see, one thing about Pali, when you read the line, you should imagine there are no spaces. You know? In English, we break it up so it's easy on our eye. Imagine everything is combined, right? So do not pronounce as, of course, when you read, you say Karaniyam atta kusalena. That is if you want to analyze the meaning. But when you chant, you got to join up. Even in English, you know, I remember when I was young in primary school, this English teacher would come and tell us how to join up, you know, the words when we read certain words. You know? Otherwise, they sound very strange. So we pronounce it as Karaniya Matta Kusalena, right? Karaniya Matta Kusalena Yang Tang Santang Padang Abhisamecha Sakko Rujuja Sujuja Sawajo Chasamuduanatimani. Meaning, what should be done by one skilled in good, or you can also translate the goal, having understood that state of peace or nirvana is this. One should be able, upright, thoroughly upright, easy to speak to, gentle and not arrogant, or without conceit. Verse 2. Santus sakocha suparocha appakiccho cha sallahuka vutti Santindriyo cha nipako cha apagapo kulesu ananugidho. Contented and easily supportable. Little busyness, right? You see the word apakicho? Apa means little, kicho, kicha means that which should be done, duties. With little busyness, not business. Huh? Well, originally the word business means busyness, but this is where we have to backtrack the word a bit. And living a simple life, sallahuka vutti. Lahu means light. Living in a light, we're not being so busy until we get stressed out. And with the senses calm, wise in guarding the mind, unobtrusive, and not running after families. Right? So this is a kind of like reminding the monks, don't run after families, for this, for all kind of things. Right? Here means occasionally we have to be away from the family for a while. Like when you all come here, it's not that you don't love the family. When you get away for a while, you can be yourself, refreshed, energized, and you go back to the family. You can fulfill your duties so your love more effectively. Nacha kuttang samachare kinchi yena vinyo pare pavadeyum. That no one do even a small wrong for which others who are wise might censure. Right? So this 2.5 verses, totaling 10 lines, represents moral virtue, moral conduct. This is to prepare yourself, right? So it's good to recite the 5 precepts, for example, before we do a retreat, right? Something like that. And reflect on the moral virtue that we have done, that we are. The next part is the first method of loving kindness. Sukhino wa kemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. And these 2 lines already words we use to show loving kindness. May they be happy and safe. May all beings be happy at heart. Ye kechi pana bhutapti tasava tavarava anavasesa jigava ye mahantava majjima rasaka anukatula. Whatever living beings there are, be they moving or still, without any exception, be they long or be they large, medium, short, tiny or great. So this first method is we send our loving kindness according to the beings, different kinds of beings. Ditta va yeva aditta, ye cha dure vasanti avidure, bhuta va sambhavesi va sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata. Notice this last line, it's the same as the second line. Be they seen or unseen, those dwelling far or near, those already born or those seeking birth, may all beings be happy at heart. Right? So here you have categories, groups of different living beings. So we're going to look at them next week in some detail. Then second method of cultivation. This is verse 6. Na paro parang nikupeta nati manyeta katachinang kanchi vyarosana patigasanya nanya manyasa dukkha michcheya. Again you join up the last 2 words, dukkha michcheya. Let none humiliate another, despise not anyone anywhere, in any way, on account of anger, or at a sign of dislike. One should not wish anyone ill. And this biopsychological language we'll talk about next later on. Now the third method of cultivating loving kindness, third way, and this is a very famous, this is the only parable in the Sutta. Mata yatha niyang puttang ayusa ekaputta manurakhe evampi sabba bhutesu manasam bhavaye aparimana. Just as a mother would guard her own child, her one and only child with her own life, even so towards all beings, let one cultivate a boundless heart. And then you have the general method, section B. It is verses 8 and 9. Sometimes these months will chant only this verse in the house blessing, short version. Mettan cha sappa lokasming manasam bhavaye aparimanam utan adocha tiriyan cha asambadang averang asapattam. And let one cultivate to all the world a boundless heart of loving kindness, above, below, across, unhindered, without hatred, without enmity. Remember when we close our meditation with something like this, Tittang charang nisinno va sayano va yavatassa vikatamitto etang sating aditteya brahmametang viharang idamahu. While standing, moving, sitting or lying down, as long as one is not drowsy, one should keep this mindfulness. This is the divine abode here, they say. Right? So, you can do this meditation any posture. And then the conclusion. So this is the wisdom aspect. The last verse, verse 10. Itincha anupagamma silava dasanena sampanno kamesu vinaya gedhang nahi jatu gappaseyang punareti. And not falling into wrong views, virtuous accomplished in insight. Having discarded greed for sense pleasures, one would not return to lie in a womb. So this is a great promise, eh? You won't be reborn, no more suffering in other words. How does that happen? We'll discuss that in the next lesson. Any questions?
Verse 10a, is it a word wrong then?
So which one?
They're not falling into views or not falling into wrong views?
Okay. Here, if you look at the Pali simply says dittincha anupagamma. It doesn't say micha ditti. Okay? So here, this is a meditation text. So a meditation text, you should not have any views at all. Not even right view, so to speak. Right view as you understand it intellectually. Because right view is still a view. So as long as we are not enlightened, right view, wrong views are all views. So very often in the suttas when the word view is mentioned, it means it can be either right view or wrong view, it will distract you. So in meditation we just let go of thoughts. And this is the last line, last verse rather. So the idea is to let go of all thoughts. So we don't have to qualify it, we don't have to say only wrong views. Because you have right view also, at that time when you're supposed to meditate, you're thinking, how should I translate this word? You can meditate, You have to let go of all thoughts. Okay, let us continue with our study, the Metta Sutta. Metta Sutta, SN 1.8, Sutta Nipata, chapter 1, Sutta number 8. And it is also found in the Kutakapata, Sutta number 9. So this is a popular sutta found in two places in the Pali canon. So this is in volume 38, chapter 3, 38.3. Now if you turn to page 63, you will see what is called the chanting version, if you like. So here I've just listed the sutta just as it is, Pali on the left, English on the right, without any notes. So you can see it's only 2 pages long, and this can be used for chanting. So what I'll do is I'll just recite. Did we recite the sutta last week? We did. Okay, so if you want to hear the recitation, this previous study, previous talk. So today we look at the sutta with notes. It's on page 65 onwards. Actually, it's the same sutta, but page 65 onwards we have detailed notes. Well, not really that detailed because the real detailed notes are in the introduction. So from page 65 you have the annotated translation of the loving kindness discourse on what should be done. Now first of all, the title, let me say just a bit about the title. Karaniya Metta Sutta. There are quite a number of Metta Suttas, there are many Metta Suttas. So, now of course we know the word Metta actually is feminine, the long R, but here the title you see on the board is short R. Karaniya Metta Sutta. So here the shortness of the vowel is due to the compound. So actually it's supposed to be Metta Sutta combined, so the long vowel became short. So technically it's still correct to pronounce it Metta Sutta if you like, but somehow we get so used to the idea of spelling it with short A, and then it has got the disambiguate Karaniya in front, that which should be done. This is because there's so many Metta Suttas, so we put the very first word of the sutta, Karaniya, in front of it. And the word is just nice to make it as a prefix. Alright, so let's look at the first verse. So this first verse, second verse, and half of the third verse is what's called the preparation for the meditation. In fact, if you look at the whole sutta, the structure is very clear. It follows the structure what's called the 3 trainings. Tisika, training in moral conduct, training in mental cultivation, training in wisdom. The training in wisdom is very short, the last verse. So the middle part is the longest. there are 4 methods of loving kindness meditation, labeled A, B, C, D. So let's look at the first part on moral conduct. What should be done by one skilled in good? Having understood that state of peace, nirvana, is this: one should be able, upright, and thoroughly upright, easy to speak to, gentle, and not arrogant. So notice here the language is very simple, very casual. So this is a teaching style of the early Buddhism, non-technical, right? And yet to the point. So what the Buddha is trying to tell the monks here, the audience are the monks who are going to meditate in the forest, is telling the monks to make sure they keep the precepts well, especially in preparation for meditation. And why is it so important to keep precepts well in preparation for meditation? Is because if we do not discipline our body and speech, it's very hard to focus the mind, because the body needs to be calm first. When the body is calm, then the mind, it's easier to calm the mind. Secondly, if you don't keep the precepts, when you try to sit down calm, quietly, you start thinking, oh, why did I do this? Why did I do that? You start feeling guilty and so on. And it's very hard to meditate. So this preparation is very important, in other words. Of course, then you might ask, we all have broken precepts before, we all have not been disciplined before, so does that mean we'll never be able to meditate? But the point is, we need to remember only the good moments. That is why there is such a thing as Silanusati. Silanusati, the means recollection on moral virtue. We are a mix, but we are all people with mixed personality, mixed morality, if you like. So if you think only of the negative aspects, of course we won't be able to meditate. So here we need to think of the moments when we did keep the precepts. For example, as you are listening to this talk, you are keeping the precepts. Or as you are, doing your puja, or reading a Dhamma book. All these moments you are keeping the precepts, right? So those are the times when you recollect how happy you are, how morally virtuous you are. And when you reflect that, you feel very peaceful. So that is Silanusati. So these are different ways we think positive, in other words, preparing ourselves for loving kindness meditation. So let's look at the first line. What should be done by one skilled in good? Now notice the spelling. Karaniya atta kusalena. That's the proper spelling. But when you chant, you have to chant as this one line. So there is no spaces. In fact, in the ancient writing, there's no spacing. This is modern English, or rather Romanized. So when you chant, you join up. Karaniya Metta kusalena. Right? So the ma joins up with the atta. Right? So if you do not know Pali, you might write it down as Karaniya, and then Metta goes in the second part of the line. You should not be like that. So this is how you start it, but when you chant, you join up. It's just like in English, I remember when we were in primary schools, our teacher asked us to take a pencil and make this round little, what you call symbols or lines to join up when you read, so that it sounds that the language flows. Karaniya means that which should be done. Atta kusalena is a compound. Now, atta has different meanings. Atta can mean benefit, atta can mean good, atta can mean meaning. In Sanskrit it is artha, and in Malay it becomes arti. Arti means meaning, right? And it can also mean purpose. Very often the word atta means the purpose of being a Buddhist, for example. One aspect of right speech is it is connected with the goal. Atta is used as the purpose, even the goal. But here, how do we translate this? Now, most translators have translated as good, skill in the good, kusala. Kusala means wholesome, skill. So here, kusala has the old meaning of skillful. The meaning wholesome is a little later when the Buddhist psychology became more developed. Here, for example, a skilled archer, right? So skill in good. You can also translate, if you like, as skill in the goal, if you like. Right? So the different meanings here. That's why sometimes when you read a Pali, in your mind, you keep it open and you know there are other meanings to it also. There's no fixed meaning. It doesn't mean that you can put any meaning you like. The meanings are interconnected. For example, the good, the goal, the purpose, notice somehow they overlap in meaning. Right? So here, one who is skilled in the good, one who is skilled in the goal. Here, what does it mean? And there's a note 1 to 5 there. Right? So it says, you can look at section 412 if you want the details. So this is the introduction. That's how you use this book. You see look at the footnote, you can see footnote, the strange looking symbol like two S standing on each other means section. Alright? So, skill in good, not 1 to 5. It says C brackets 4.1.2. This is where you go in front, you look at the introduction. 4.1.2 is on page 45. Then the word Atakusarena is there. Can you see at the bottom there?
Yes.
412. And then you see square brackets, right?
Yes.
Now the square brackets refer to the sutta itself. So when you see the symbol, the section symbol, it refers to the part in the sutta itself. If it has no section symbol, it refers to the introduction. So this is something it helps to remember. So the goal here, of course, is awakening nirvana, if you like. Now this is a bit of a problem because the next line says, Yantang santang padang abhisamicca. Having understood that state of peace, santang padang or santa pada is often translated as a description of nirvana, that state of peace. Padang means state, place. Santa, peace. But pada can also translate as path or steps, as in Dhammapada. Dhammapada, steps of the Dharma, or the Dhamma path. In German, remember they translated as the way, W-E-G, back. So we can also translate as the way of peace, if you like. But here the commentary says it actually refers to nirvana. Okay, here you have to be very careful when you translate this. Here it says having understood the state of nirvana. Here it didn't say having realized the state of nirvana, abhisamicca. Okay? Of course, in later usage of the word, especially Mahayana, the word abhisamaya is another word for actually having attained awakening. But here, if someone already has attained awakening, he doesn't need to do all this practice, isn't it? And moreover, you look at the story, those monks who requested the teaching from the Buddha, they were not enlightened yet. So obviously from the context, you know that this teaching is given to a group of monks who are not yet awakened. So this line cannot mean, these two lines, the first two lines cannot mean as referring to people who already attained nirvana. So we have to translate accordingly. In other words, they have an idea what nirvana is like. Just like all of us here, we do have a good idea. Even the audiences, if you are listening to me, many of you have some idea what nirvana is not, or even is, right? For example, when anger is gone, where's the anger gone? You can say it's gone to nirvana if you like, something like that. But nirvana is more profound than that, of course. So here, we understand nirvana as, number one, not of this world, no craving, no suffering, something like that. So once we understand that, then obviously we want to build our lives in that direction. Take nirvana like a distant star, okay? So you see the star, you may not reach it, but you can guide your way, chart your course. by the stars. So this is the meaning. One who has understood the state of peace, nirvana, is this. So this is what you should do. You should be able, upright, and so on. Now here, able, not want to eat, sakko. Very similar to sakya, because they were able. Skill in good, to able in two ways, physically and mentally. So here, if you want the details, you can read section 4.2. So especially after listening to the talk, you want to read on your own, you can read through the notes by themselves. So here, when we say able, physically, mentally. Physically means you got to take care of your health. If you really want to meditate well, you should not eat too much, you should have enough rest, you should be comfortably clothed, find a suitable place, things like that, right? So that is the first kind of ability. Then the other one is mentally. They are sometimes called the 5 limbs of effort, padaniyanga, found in the Buddhakapata commentary, page 239. You need to have wise faith. We all have some faith in the 3 jewels, or at least in the idea that I want to be happy, I want to get out of suffering, or I want peace. So this is wise faith. And good health refers to the first part actually. Not fraudulent or deceitful, so we have to be open. You can't cheat meditation, right? You can't pretend to close your eyes and try to meditate. You just relax, you sit, and then you put in the effort, and you need to have wisdom to continue your practice, and at the same time also watch wisely what's going on when you meditate, especially watching the impermanence of the states as they arise. Now all these are by way of introduction. I won't go into much detail. The details will build up as we go along. So to be able also means you've got to prepare yourself well, like studying the sutta first, listening to instructions of a teacher, meditation teacher. So know your theory well, in other words. Then you know what meditation is about, loving kindness more specifically. Because if you straight away begin it, you may be questioning what am I doing, for example. Unless you already have some information earlier on about meditation and loving kindness. So this being able means preparing well, have a good idea what you are doing. Upright and thoroughly upright. Now here you have 2 words. Both same words, but one has more weight. Upright is in note 129. Here, upright means honest, open to your teacher. Because in meditation, sometimes you have to discuss with your teacher difficulties you face. And the more truthful you are, the easier for the teacher to help you. And whatever you tell the teacher, of course, is taken in confidence and it helps you in your meditation. So meditation is like counseling in action, if you like. Counseling using mental therapy. So upright, that means honest communication. Then totally upright is, it says here, instead of being content with upright only once, we would be thoroughly, fully and consistently upright as long as we live. So you make it a lifelong practice. Because meditation is something that goes on for our whole life. Something we practice whenever we can. And as you know, loving kindness is one practice you can do anytime you want to, except when you are sleeping. So now if we take uju, if we take upright as a speech aspect, telling the truth and so on, this second word, suju, uju is the first part, suju is the second part. Suju means thoroughly upright, well upright, upright in a good way. It refers to your mental aspect. In our mind also, we think positive thoughts, happy thoughts, wholesome thoughts, in other words. So here you are bodily prepared, your speech is prepared. Your speech is prepared means you tell the truth, otherwise observe silence, and then mentally prepare. Right? Uju is body and speech, Suju is the mind. And then next line, Sakko Suwacho Chasa Mulu Anatimani. Suwacho, easy to speak to. If you want to do meditation, you have to follow instructions in order to get the benefit quickly and properly. So easy to be instructed, in other words, amenable. Okay? That means also being attentive to the teacher. And then you have to listen very carefully to get the method right. If we assume too much, then after a while we start doing our own thing and you find the meditation doesn't really work. We do not know how to deal with difficulties. Gentle. Mudu, not gentle. So here, literally means malleable. Here, especially when you go for a retreat, so there are other people around, so you have to be kind to other people. Fit in, be very accommodating. In a sense that you feel a part of everything around you. You're in harmony with everything else. That kind of gentleness. You can notice, for example, if you have cats at home, they're very soft and gentle with the environment. They move around easily in a relaxed way. No negative thoughts, no negative emotions. And then not arrogant, anatimani, right? If you're arrogant, I mean you're comparing yourself with others, and you start thinking, I can meditate better, or my posture is better, or this person can sit properly, then you are criticizing other people. Why is criticizing bad? Because criticizing is thinking. And thinking is the worst enemy of meditation. It's not that thinking is bad, not at all. It is that we want to rest, give our thinking mind a rest. So in meditation we gently prepare ourselves to stop thinking so that we can feel the peace and joy of our minds. So all this first part, this first verse, reminds us of that preparation. Yeah? If you have any word you're not sure, just stop me anytime you can ask. Okay, second verse. Santus sako cha subaro cha apakicco cha salahu kavuti santindriyo cha nipako cha apagapo kudesu anamudito. Santus sako, contented. Here, when you go for a retreat, you find love is very simple, right? Some people just take one meal a day, like a Buddha. Or usually in the evening, we're so used to heavy meals, so we might take something, a drink, or eat some light food. So most retreat organizers will be very kind to you if you have stomach problem. They will normally allow you to take some extra food. I know, for example, one meditation center where there's always food in the kitchen. So whenever you're hungry, you just go quietly there. You can eat as much as you like. Nobody's watching you. There are no cameras. But you eat too much, you're going to suffer. You won't be able to meditate. You get sleepy. So you got to know yourself. Contentment means really enjoying your food. When you eat in a meditative mood, we don't talk. Why? Because we spend our time chewing, just like a cow, ruminating, okay? Chewing, and then you taste the food. In fact, they said that if you chew your food properly, you eat less, but it benefits you more. You actually feel more, okay? Feel, F-I-L-L, feel yourself more. So in other words, all this food gets digested. And you get good digestion, so that's healthy. And contentment also means simple quarters, right? Simple environment. So you don't have to worry about things around you. Because when you close your eyes, you don't see anything around you. There may be beautiful scenery, yes, but then you close your eyes, you don't see anything. But when you open your eyes, of course, you see this beautiful scenery that helps too. And easily supportable, right? So here, in other words, things are very simple in retreat, so you got to make do with those things, and everybody is given the same support. And if you live a meditative life, you find you have less wants. Even your needs are simplified, so it's easy to support yourself. It's a very simple and wonderful life in that sense. And this whole verse talks about a simple life. So the next line, apaticho. The word cha is just a joining word. It has the value of and in English, and, or even to your home. Apaticho, apa means little, few, and then kicho means duties, busyness. Business slowly became business in English. So here is a good chance to use, I don't think there's this word, I don't know if any dictionary has got such a word, but when you read it, you know the meaning, isn't it? With little business. If you are on retreat, if you're doing meditation, you can't be running here, running there, and doing so many things, you can't meditate. So you just have to put aside all your duties for a while during the time of meditation. Even at home, you can still do that. Let's say you have duties of cooking, you cook, and after that, there's a short break, you do your toilet, and you do your meditation. So you have little busyness. Notice how it flows, contented, you do the supportable, and then you have little few duties. Sallapuka wutti. Wutti means something like a routine you have. And then lahu means light. Lahu means light. So simple life. Simple life. Not complicated. Complicated means what? Socializing, high society, quarreling with people, making business ventures. That's busy, very stressful, right? Now, we're not saying those things are good or bad. We just need to go away from that after a while, just to refresh our minds. We forget about the world for a while. I like to I often present meditation as a kind of renunciation. In fact, we can say meditation is a real renunciation. Because even if you become a monk or a nun, you change your uniform, although you look like one, you may not still behave like one, you may not think like one, you don't meditate. So the real purpose of becoming a monk or a nun is to meditate, is to be at peace with yourself. So if we as lay people, we do our meditation, at that moment, you are effectively a monk or a nun. So you don't have to renounce the world in that sense, if you are a lay person. So when you're meditating, number one, what do you renounce? We renounce the body. We renounce activities of the body by sitting calmly, by being at peace with our body and speech, silence. And then slowly we renounce our thoughts. And when the thoughts are renounced, there is peace. You feel very nice and peaceful. And then later you even renounce that peace. Wisdom arises. It goes on like that. So it's a series of renunciations. And when you do that, there is Santindriyo. Santindriya. Santa plus Indriya. Santa means peaceful, calm. Indriya, faculties. The faculties are calm. So once you do all these things that are in the first verse, and then having little busyness, living simple life, your senses, all your five senses, see less, hear less, smell less, everything less, so you find more comfortable and you're more relaxed and your senses become more calm. Our senses become active and excited when we have seen too many things, hear too many things, especially hearing too many things. Seeing is, how do you get excited seeing? By reading newspapers, too much reading in meditation is a bit difficult, right? So during meditation we don't read. For a while we don't even read Sutta books when we're meditating because we might start thinking about that. So during the process of meditation we don't read anything. So the senses are all peaceful and calm. Nipako or nipaka, then you become wise. There are many words for wise. This is one of those words. Wise here refers to guarding the mind. You know how to keep the mind ready for meditation, peaceful enough to attract greater peace. Notice these are all language of renunciation. So that's the second verse. Now the next two lines, half a verse, no, verse 3. Natcha kuddang samachare kinchi yena vinyo pare upavadeyam. And that one not do even a small wrong, for which others who are wise might censure. So here a reminder again, keep the precepts well. Right? You're on retreat, so or you're meditating, so just forgive the mosquito, wish the cockroach well and happy. You just meditate. Okay? Don't worry too much, right? Because if you sit and you see a cockroach crawling on the ground, say, oh dear, one cockroach. What if they multiply? And there goes your thoughts. So they start multiplying. So just leave the world alone. You can't change the world, but you can change yourself. So don't do even a small mistake or small error or breaking the precepts and so on. Your teacher may say, you should have done that. So in other words, err on the good side if necessary. Yena vinyo paripavadeyam. Keep your precepts totally pure. Meditation in a retreat is possible. So now you're mentally, you are prepared in a moral sense, precept-wise. And then the teaching begins. So from the next two lines, verse 3, right up to the verse 9, the rest of the sutta except the closing verse deals with meditation. 4 different methods. So let's look at them one by one. Okay. In fact, these three, the first 3 are 3 different methods, and they all lead to number 4. Okay. Okay. First method begins with a kind of aspiration, kind of words that help us to start doing loving kindness already. Sukhino wa ke mino hontu, sape satta bhavantu sukhitata. Sukhino. Sukhino is a plural word, made happy in a plural sense. Kemino, safe. Kema, right? Kema means safe. May they all be happy, may they be safe. So these are 2 very important words in loving kindness. We wish people happy. Happy means they get what they want and they feel a sense of joy. Why? Because joy is a very important food that we need in order to work really well, be creative. We always think in terms of food as, things we eat from a table or from a plate, right? But there are other kinds of food also, like consciousness, the 5 senses, karma. And lately I've been thinking there's another kind of food, like the devas. Devas give us joy. We also need joy. Because if you have joy, then you can work better, you can teach better, you can do a lot of things better. You can keep the precepts well if you're happy. So we want people to be happy, and if people around you are happy, then you feel good too, you feel safe. Safe means bad karma does not act on us. Negative action for other people do not arise. So this is one kind of invocation. And the next one is a famous one. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata. Sabbe means all, satta beings, bhavantu may they be. Sukhitata. Sukhita means happy. Sukhi, sukhita mean the same thing. Here atta means the mind. The mind, or heart if you like. May all beings be happy at heart. So here we send to all the beings around us. So the monks are in the forest, right, doing their meditation, so they're sending this loving kindness to all the beings in the forest. Verse 4. Ye kechi pana bhutati tasawa tavarava anavasesa Digawa ye mahantawa majjima rasaka nukatula. So here we begin to see different groups of beings. So this is why you look at the subheading A, it says cultivation of loving kindness. The first method, the being method. This is called the being method. So we send our loving kindness to different kinds of beings. Ye ke chi, whatever. Whatever. Pana means breath, but pana also means living beings. Bhuta means beings also. So here, if you like, you can translate Pana Bhuta as living beings. Okay. Atti means there is or there are. Whatever living beings there are. Tasawa, Tavarawa. Now this is compound. One to one. They go together. You find one, you find the other. Tasawa, Tavarawa. Be they moving or still. Tasa, moving. Tavara, still. Tasa means shaking, excited. Shaking with what? With craving, with fear. So this refers to those who are not enlightened yet. Those who are troubled. May they be well and happy. May they be safe. May they be at peace with themselves. Tawara. The word Tera, Tawara comes from the same root. This is a famous Thai word. In Thai, it's called Tawon. Stable. Stable. Still. So the moving and the still. Right? Whether people are bad or people are good, people are struggling, people who are at peace with themselves, may they all be well and happy. So we make no distinction in terms of loving kindness. We wish them all well and happy. Anavasesa, without any exception. So here again there's a hint of openness, right? Because loving kindness is a very special kind of love. It is unconditional love. No exceptions. No choosing. All beings well and happy. Anavasesa. Without exceptions. Diga means long. So whether beings are long. Wa means all. Mahanta, large. And then Majjhima, middle length. Rasaka means short. Anukatula, Anuka means tiny. Tula means great, or Tula also can mean fat. Here means great. So these are different kinds of beings. Or if you like, you can think of this as different kinds of people. Right? Long are the tall people, right? And then they got large, big size people. And you got the medium size, you got the short ones, and then you got the tiny one, very small size, and then you have the really big, great big size. And I say, oh, may you all be well and happy. And because why? We all have preferences, right? We say, oh, I like this kind of shape, that kind of shape. But in meditation, all beings well and happy. No special preference, right? Or we can see these terms as referring to different kinds of beings. So here, there are notes you can look at. For example, let me just, one more point before I go on. This moving or still, some scholars argue that they refer to, still refer to plants. And moving is to human beings. I think this is possible, yes, but I don't think in the context of Sutta this is meant. This may be true in Jainism and other extra Buddhist religions. But here I think in the Buddhist text, Tasa wa Tavarawa always refers to these two groups of people, those who are still struggling with craving, the other one they are at peace with themselves. We wish them all well and happy. Of course, the question may arise, if they're already on the path to awakening, or the arahats, or the Buddha himself, does the Buddha need our loving kindness, you might ask, right? Well, put it this way, we definitely would not send negative thoughts to the saints and the Buddha. So, we should be sending our loving kindness, right? For example, we think of the Buddha as saying, may you be well and happy. Not that the Buddha needs it, but we have this wonderful disposition to the Buddha. We feel a connection with the Buddha. We feel at peace, inspired, and it helps us to meditate. Yeah? Then there's different kinds of shapes. You can look at note 150. Different kinds of classifications. Here you can look at introduction 5113. Just a minute. This on page 48, yeah? 5113. So here, this is a traditional classification. The long are the serpents, fishes, lizards, so may they be well and happy. If you love animals, if you take care of animals, this is a great meditation. You're walking in the zoo, you know, all these long animals, the snakes, you're well and happy. Then you have the large, these are like turtles, and on the land you have elephants. And they mentioned nagas here. Nagas in India, the big snakes, you know, like cobra. And then non-humans, there's a typo there, non-humans. Here, if you believe in spirits, this is a wonderful meditation. If you don't believe in spirits, that's fine too. Then you don't have to worry about them. And some people, they're scared, they think, oh, you know what, someone has just died in this room recently, or you go to this place and the eerie feelings. Just do your loving kindness. Right? Just may all beings be one happy. So that creates this wonderful warm atmosphere around you. The medium size are the horses, oxen, buffaloes, pigs. And then the short, these are the, for example, dwarves. And the fine are those that you can't see. Okay, here's a bit tricky, because lie is also included here. And what about bugs, tiny bugs? So sometimes you see, you go to the forest, and you look into the rotten wood, you find a tiny little bugs running around. So you wish them well and happy too. You don't want to kill them because they're very important in the forest. But germs are not included. Bacteria, germs, but we know these are purely chemical processes. So you boil water, you're not killing any living being, so to speak. So, so we say loving kindness to even tiny beings. Do you know that once the Buddha showed his loving kindness to a louse? So there's a very funny story here from the Mapada commentary. There's this monk who was very attached to his robes, very attached to property and things. It's a story to one of the monks and Azu. So this monk died, and you know when a monk dies, whatever he has that is proper for a monk, meaning the robes and bowl and so on, will be divided up among the other monks. So for example, the robes might even be torn up into different pieces to be shared by the monks. So they were getting ready to tear the robes up. But then the story went that the Buddha said, don't touch the robe for a couple of weeks. Because this monk has been reborn as a louse and he's infesting the robe. He's so attached to the robe, he's reborn as a louse. Very tiny little louse. So that means that he doesn't have a loving kindness mind. Loving kindness mind is called a great mind. So we have to be very careful to have a narrow mind. He might end up being born as a louse, a lousy birth. So the Buddha said, don't touch the robe, because the story went that this louse is so unhappy, he was running up and down the robe and say, hey, this is mine, keep away, don't touch my robe. It's almost like a Walt Disney kind of story. Now, of course, remember, this is where we need to read Buddhist stories as literature. These are commentary stories, not from the Sutta but in the commentaries, the Mapada commentary. Take it as a story. What is the story trying to tell us? The story is telling us that if we are greedy and attached to things, we become small, like a louse. And then the Buddha says, okay, just lay the robe aside for a week or two. Why? Because the lifespan of a louse is very short. At the end of the 1 or 2 weeks, the louse dies, and okay, and then they share the robes. So this is a story of how the Buddha showed loving kindness to a louse. And next line. We have verse 5. Ditta va yeva aditta yecha dure vasanti avidure bhutava sambhave siva sappe satta bhavantu sukhitata. Ditta means seeing, something seen. Va means all, ye means they also can mean whoever. And then aditta, sometimes with one D. Notice ditta, aditta, they are opposites. Ditta means the seen, aditta, unseen. Again, here the simple meaning is seen are people around us, people in this room, may you all be well and happy. Unseen are all those away, we do not see them here now. We wish them well and happy too. So that is a simple meaning. Deeper meaning, see means the beings you can see with your eyes. Then there are those which are unseen. Maybe they're very far away over the horizon, in the distance, overseas. We wish them well and happy. So these are flexible meaning, no need to be too strict about them. Okay? Because when once you practice, you don't like carefully look at all this line by line and practice. You choose the method that you like and you naturally feel and you practice it. There are other meanings and details you can look up in the note. 151, section 5.4 if you like. Ye cha dure. Dure means far away. Vasanti means they dwell. Avidure, again you notice the two opposites. Dure, avidure. Dure means far away. Avidure means not far away or near. So here we have people here in Singapore who are happy, and then people in Southeast Asia who are happy, and then the whole world. Those are far away people. And then we also send our loving kindness in the last part, remember? Directional. Front direction. We normally start with the front direction. Okay? Normally front means east, so technically you can say we should be sitting facing east, but okay, you can always get a kind of position. So you just sit front direction. So may all the beings in the front direction be well and happy. So you roughly imagine 1/4, right, like this. So you draw like a cross here. So this is 1/4, this front direction. You picture yourself sitting on earth and you're sending this bright light of loving kindness shining the quadrant, this special quadrant of space, all these beings right to the end of the universe. You can imagine that all these planets in the cosmos, may they all be well and happy. Wow, we have this great feeling of spaciousness. And then beings to the right, so you have this right quadrant, again, right to the end of the universe, spread your bright light of loving kindness. And then the back quadrant, left-hand quadrant, and then comes the bottom quadrant. So now imagine you're on earth and then the bright light shining below. Now we say below, but if you look from the perspective of space, there's no above below. It's just from the way we are sitting is below, right? All beings down there, the part of the universe be well and happy. And then above, the quadrant above, may they all be well and happy right to the end of the universe. It's kind of imaginary end, if you like. So what we're doing, we're actually clearing up our whole being. This universe is our mental universe. Fill it with loving kindness. And then the directions in between. Some people are a bit worried, did I miss any spot? Okay, directions in between. And then finally you come back to yourself. Okay? You say, may I be well and happy. So don't forget yourself. You bring back all the loving kindness back to yourself. Why do we do that? Because we want to remind ourselves that loving kindness is always there in our heart. Okay? Sometimes some teachers teach us to visualize a lotus flower in the center of our heart. This will help us remember this loving kindness should always be there in our heart. Whenever we need this, loving kindness is there. So wherever we go, we try to show this loving kindness. Next line, is still in verse 5, third line, Bhutawa. Bhuta means whether they are born. Bhuta means they have become. If you translate Bhuta literally means having become, possibly become. So here we normally translate as beings, in the sense of a living being like you and I, we are beings. Sambhavesi, okay, this is the problematic term, a very tricky term here. A small group of people, some ultra-traditional people, they think that this Sambhavesi means beings to be born. So there are many technical explanations here which I won't go into, you can look up the notes. Some of the basic ones will be mentioned. Beings to be born, for example, the chicken is in the egg, they're not born yet. Again, may they be well and happy. The baby is in the stomach, so may they be well and happy. So they're going to be born but not born yet. But I think that is kind of not very helpful. Of course, you can use that kind of definition if you like, but you don't have to worry too much about the technical definition. If we look at the word sambhavesi, if you look at how do you resolve this word? Sambhava plus AC. AC is someone who is searching, a seeker, AC. Esana, pariyesana. Arya pariyesana sutta, right? Esana is the abstract noun, the search, quest. So AC is the seeker. Sambhava means birth, the one seeking birth. Who is this? Most monks, teachers, nuns, and Buddhists today agree that this word refers to the intermediate state being. It takes some time for us to be reborn, especially if we are not awakened. Saintly people, they are reborn immediately, yes. But most of the beings, they get caught in between because of their craving. The force, their karma holds them back. They're very attached to their old place, so they kind of float around like some kind of disembodied being. They don't belong to any particular plane, so they're kind of stuck. So this is where if you do your loving kindness, you help them along, so to speak. So loving kindness is very important here. In a sense, you can even say this. You can include pretas here using loving kindness, because if you look at the teachings on the pretas, there are not too many teachings, because I think it's a late teaching during the pretas, especially the dedicating merits and so on. Here, the Tirukkuta Sutta, for example, talks about showing your kind thoughts to the pretas, and then they become happy. When the pretas are happy, they fall from their state. They are reborn according to the karma to better states, usually, hopefully. So the sambhavesi, they are kind of in between beings. So they could be hovering around near you if they are part of family members. They could be anywhere, especially their favorite places where they like to go. So we wish them well and happy. And you must do this yourself, whether they are relatives or not, even if they are your friends, even people you do not know. I mean, if a stranger comes to you and is kind to you, you feel the kindness. And we've been reborn so many times, it's hard to say that we have not been hated. Right? There's so many people that we have gone through, and we all are somehow related to each other. So we send our loving kindness to all these beings all around here. We wish them well and happy. And so they're caught up with very negative thoughts. Okay? It's like someone very depressed. Someone comes here for counseling. First time they look very depressed and very sad. And then they sit down, we talk about the problems, and at the end of the counseling, they feel so happy. Right? So loving kindness works like that. We send this wonderful energy to all these beings around us, and they feel so peaceful and nice. It works just like the way you're kind to your cats, you're kind to your dogs, to your pets, and they can feel that. So these beings are like that. And also with these beings, they fall into negative states, and then they are reborn in happy states. And then again we say the line, Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata. May all beings be happy at heart. So here again we are reminded to send our thoughts unconditionally to all beings. So this is the first method. Now the second method, B, cultivation of loving kindness, the social method. Okay. Any questions before I go on? You can follow. All right. Naparo parang nikubeta nati manyeta katachinan kanchi or kinchi. Vyaro sana patigasanya nanya manyasa dukamicheya. Right? The last time lots of M, final M, we join up with the following vowel. Okay. Na paro parang. Na means not, paro parang means one another. Nikubeta. Look down, humiliate. Okay? Let no one let none humiliate another. In other words, should not look down on anyone. Okay? Loving kindness is where we accept people as they are, unconditionally. We need to do loving kindness because it's not easy for us to accept people unconditionally. We have to train ourselves. And why is this so important? Because when we look down on people, they will act in that way. So we never see the goodness in them. We do not give them the chance to grow. And if you, opposite of this is to respect people, right? Respect means taking people as they are. And if you respect people, then they're able to show their best ability. You're able to see them for the best that they can be. Right? And we can surprise ourselves this way with the qualities, wonderful qualities people have. Nati manyeta. Okay, notice na there is okay, this sign here. Previously I told you it is a carrot. Actually, yeah, a carrot looks like that, sharp sign, but a carrot actually is used at the bottom of the line. You know when sometimes your letter is missing, you use an arrow, right? And you point, that's the carrot. This actually is a circumflex, so I have to stand corrected here. A circumflex is you can say a carrot at the top of a vowel. And here in Pali it means two vowels joined together. So remember this was circumflex. Yeah? So na ti manyeta. So it's na plus ati manyeta. The two vowels joined together. Same vowels, right? So we use a circumflex. Right? Na ati manyeta. Do not despise. Ati manyata means to despise, to look down. Katachinan, kanchi. Anyone, anywhere. In any way. Okay? So, accept people as they are. Sometimes in the retreat you find people fall asleep when they're meditating. They start snoring. Or some people, they don't meditate, you know, they eat and then they walk around, or they just do something else. You know. So sometimes we say, oh, I don't think these people are like living this life. We start thinking negative things about them. It's okay. Just let them be. In fact, you think happily about them. Say, wow, it's wonderful. They are here with me. At least they're trying to keep the precepts. They're not doing some nasty things out there in the world. Right? So we do not despise them. Vyarosana. Here means anger. Dislike. Anger, dislike. Patiga, ill will. Sanya. Sanya here means sign. Perception. Patiga sanya. You begin to notice a sense of dislike on account of anger or at the sign of dislike. So when you feel angry, next line says, Nanya manyasa dukkha. We should not wish anyone ill. So anger does come to us. Someone does something wrong, we feel anger coming there, we watch it, say, oh, I'm angry. Okay, let me not wish anyone ill. So this word should come to your mind. Let me not wish anyone ill. Right? So the anger will just go away. At the sign of ill will, right? So sometimes it's a thought, something comes to your mind. So the first sign, that's called patika sign. So once you let go of the sign, it's very easy to let go of the rest of the negative thought. So this is a very interesting mental method of overcoming anger. So this is for the office. So we are working with people, working as a group. When you come to the group, first thing is say, everyone be well and happy. So in other words, we send out these thoughts to everybody. Now I'm going to stop here in a while, so that we continue with the second half of the sutta next week. I want to rush it. Any questions to us? Anything? So in the next session, we're talking about the mother meditation, and then the closing part, where we send loving kindness everywhere, and then the wisdom aspect. So in summary, we begin by looking around us and see what do we have. We have all kinds of beings, animals. If you look in the house or you're traveling, you go to the zoo, you just move around in some countryside, you find there are animals moving around freely. Or if you're going on a holiday somewhere in the jungle and you might see animals, so you wish them all well and happy, especially when in the jungle. Loving kindness really helps. And this is also a way of appreciating life. You begin to see, wow, this world is full of animals, full of beings. If you watch those nature movies, so you wish them all well and happy. And sometimes you get wonderful experiences. You even notice these animals, they're kind to each other. And then you begin to notice the differences in people. Under so-called normal circumstances, differences tend to lead to discrimination, right? But in loving kindness, so we accept everybody all the same. And then you begin to discover that despite people's shortcomings, despite the handicap, they have certain qualities which are really wonderful. And then you have the social aspect of meditation, where you send your loving kindness to everybody around you without looking down on anybody, and you begin to watch your own emotions to be positive. So sometimes this meditation is called positive emotions. Okay, so that's the study for today. So no questions, Okay, so we end here for today. We'll continue next week. This is only the second part of our study of the Sutta. Loving kindness is a meditation that helps us to recharge ourselves, to clear our minds of negative thoughts. Some of these negative thoughts are what? Taking away our energy, which we could use for generating happiness, to do happy stuff, to get our work done properly, and to deal with people in a positive way, and to influence others, bring happiness to them. So loving kindness is a way of living our lives to the fullest, in the most happy way. Thinking in this manner, we create a very good mental karma. By the power of this karma, may we in this life itself attain mental peace when we meditate. May we be happy. May we have success in our work. May all the people around us be happy and safe too. Above all, by the power of all the good deeds we have done, keeping the precepts, meditating, studying the suttas, practicing generosity, by all the power of all these good deeds, may we attain spiritual liberation in this life itself, especially by attaining straight living. At this peaceful moment in our lives, let us send our loving kindness to all those people who are important to us, wherever they may be. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.